What's up, guys? Welcome back to Car Studio. That was one intro. Guys, we're down here at the old Countach, and it's in the water. It's finished, and I've already had it out and water tested it last weekend, and then we were out on it all day yesterday. And the first weekend it kind of had a couple mishaps. The very first day it had a bad misfire. I found out that was a crack in my distributor cap. I think it happened when we put the engine back in. Right there? There it is. No, straight. Besides that, it wouldn't go on plane. You could hold it wide open, it would get on plane, and it would run great for like 20 seconds, and then it would slowly run out of fuel. And I'm not sure what it was. It was definitely a carburetor issue. We did a couple checks, and I had good fuel pressure. I figured that my float needed set in the carburetor. It's just an old Quadrajet. I took the carburetor apart, rebuilt it, set the float. Originally had the float set too high, caused it to flood, like, I mean, fuel blowing out of the bowl as soon as it turned the key on. So I got that figured out, reset the float. Basically took the carburetor apart 3 different times. Ultimately, we also found out, which I knew this, but I didn't know if it affected it or not. I'm still not sure if that was the issue or not, but my choke was staying fully closed, which definitely will not let it run at full potential. And I think that had a factor in it, but basically with this high-rise intake I've got, the hot choke wasn't hooked up anymore. So all I did was wire it open. This thing only runs in the summertime. You don't need a choke anyways. So let's walk down here to the boat, and I will show you everything I've done so far. So first off, I ended up naming the boat Derelict. If you're not aware of what that means, basically it's got a couple different definitions. For this boat, I kind of went with derelict just in the condition it was in. It was abused, it was neglected, and as you can see, it came a long way from when I first got it. So, I got the engine back in, buffed the whole boat, haven't waxed it yet. This is just a quick buff. I didn't have any wet sanding or anything. It just buffed out all the oxidation. I was very surprised. I replaced the broken windshield. If you guys remember that in the first video, there was a big hole there where the windshield had busted. I just got a piece of plexiglass from Lowe's, and actually 2 pieces because I screwed up the first one, and I tinted it 5% tint to match the other windows, and it turned out pretty good, you know, better than a big hole there. And the interior, it's not done yet, and it's dirty. Like I said, we were on this thing yesterday for like 9 hours. So like this piece, for example, the wood behind this was all rotten, and this piece was just kind of flapping. This strut for the windshield was just hanging down. That's very important if you're leaning on this windshield. So I replaced the wood behind that and just recovered it. I still got to do these side pieces. It's like the previous owner put some double-sided tape here. There's literally no wood behind this. You can see it looks like mulch in the floor of it. So I need to do that still, but I'm not going to recover the seats for now. I mean, this is just a cheap boat. And I replaced some of the wood in this bench seat because it was soft. And that's all I've done to the interior so far. Now, let's talk about the dash. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I still got to paint this lower piece, and I thought about getting new switches, but I don't know. All these switches work. So what I did was I put a GPS speedo in it, and these are on Amazon for very reasonable, like 40 bucks. I'll link in the description. All these gauges work over here, so I didn't mess with those. This is an also Amazon piece. I mean, it was like $45 or something. I can link that in the description also. It seems to be accurate, but it's very slow. It lags, and I'm not really impressed with it, but for $40, what can you expect? It's better than my old one that didn't work at all. On a boat, it doesn't have to be fast, as long as you're getting a reading while you're going down the river. I wanted to make sure that my prop, that the boat was propped right. It has a 21 pitch prop, and it runs 54 miles an hour. Just every day, all day, pretty much no matter who's on the boat, how much fuel's in it, whatever. It's a 54 mile per hour boat, and I'm very, very pleased with that. It has an hour meter built in, and then my GPS is pretty cool. It has a compass built into it, and it also shows how many miles you've traveled. I'll fire the boat up and show you. If I can get it to zoom in here. So you can see right here, it's got an odometer. We put 72 miles on this boat already, and it tells you your speed and the distance you've covered. It's even got a trip meter in it. That is a very good deal. The boat runs absolutely awesome. I just can't say how much I'm pleased with how smooth this engine runs and how reliable it's been so far. And it just sounds really good. So as you can see how laggy that is. It takes it a minute. Now it's up there. All right, let me show you guys the engine. So we put this engine in here. Again, if you missed the first video, it is a 350 Vortec motor, originally out of like a 97 Tahoe. It was a reman. I didn't know that when I bought it. I bought it used from a guy, and he didn't know that either, but it was a reman motor. I've got a carb intake to do away with the fuel injected intake. Again, I'll link that in the description. It was off of eBay. And we used the factory Thunderbolt ignition, the factory Quadrajet carb, and it's doing great so far. It doesn't overheat, has tons of power, and gets on plane quick. Like I said, it goes 54 all day, every day. I've got a kind of rat's nest of wiring over here. So this engine, where it's fuel injected from the factory, it didn't have the spot for a manual or mechanical fuel pump. So I got this Holley red pump down here, and these are pretty good. They're like $130 from any auto parts store, and they have, I think, 91 gallons per hour and 8 psi, so it's plenty for this carburetor. And so I hooked up a relay to that, and like I said, I got to clean all this up. This right here, it's very ghetto. That was my ground for my amp for my highs. I also did a stereo install, well, really just speakers. I put new 6x9s in it and a 600 watt 4-channel amp. It sounds really good. All right, guys, now that we've gone over the boat, let's take it out and we'll do a little run in it and conclude this video. All right, guys, we are underway, and again, I'm pretty impressed with this boat. It handles the water pretty decent. Gets on plane quick. When you get in rough waters, it is pretty light, so it catches air pretty easy, but I have a lot of fun doing that, so it doesn't bother me. Here's my GPS speedo reading, tack going, all the gauges working. Check out that oil pressure. Very impressed with this motor. So we will get on plane and top this thing out. Cruising right now, 4,000 RPMs, 45 miles an hour. So all I gotta do now, a little bit more throttle and a little bit more trim. And there's 54 right there. Now we're gonna back off a little bit. We got some traffic up here. So I've had a lot of boats with this same engine and drive, and and they did not perform nearly as well as this boat right here. Again, this isn't a factory 350 Mercruiser, it's a 350 Vortec. It is a roller motor. It's got a dual plane intake. It should be putting a little bit more power. On paper, it says both of them are 260 horsepower engines, but like I said, this boat is really performing better than any other boat that I've had with that same drive and engine combination. It's an Alpha 1 drive. I'll show you here in a minute. Just the rooster tail that it can throw up that my older boats couldn't is really impressive. So we'll get back on plane here in just a minute and show that to you. Alright guys, there you have it. The Countach is finished for the most part. It's running good, it's pretty fast, it's proven its reliability, and that's another project that was bought for very cheap. If you missed the first video, I paid $800 for this boat. I'm somewhere around $2,500 in it now, and it's a lot of boat for $2,500 bucks. So with that said, we're gonna call this an episode and pick up some friends here at our levee. Enjoy this beautiful day we're having on the water. And if you want to see more projects like this and learn some new stuff, then hit the subscribe button and follow Car Studio for more.